This is Chapter 8, Video 4 for area of a circle, and it goes with Section 8.3. So we skipped order around a little bit, but this is 8.3. It says find the area of a circle using the radius, the diameter, or the circumference. So if I give you any one of these, you should be able to find the area of that circle. So let's start by looking at this example. What is area again? This is a question on your notes. So remember, area is the space inside of a shape, or what it would take to cover that shape. So if we're talking about the area of a circle, I would want to know how much space is inside, or what it take to cover this whole circle. Okay? So let's estimate it first from this picture, and then we'll actually calculate it and see how. So this square is a 10 by 10 square, which means the area of the whole thing is 100. So if I take away these 3 in each corner, that's another 12 that I'm taking away, plus the green ones combined to make 1. So that would be another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I'm taking away out of the corners. If I cut the corners off just to see what's left in the circle in the middle. And then the pink ones, if we call that like a half a box, I've got half, 1, 1.5, 2. So another 2. That means when I cut out this circle to find the area of just the circle, I'm going to be cutting out all of this, which came up to 20, 2. And 100 minus 22 says we would have 78 left over for the circle part. Okay? So I'm going to clear that away and then show you another way of coming up with this answer. Okay, remember we got 78 for our answer when we estimated it, just counting the boxes. I want to put this red box on here, right like that. So this red box lines up with the center of my circle. And it is the length, each side of my box right here is the length of the radius of the circle, right? It goes from the center to the edge, and same thing here, from the center to the edge. So this is also a radius, okay? And we know from finding the area of a square that we would do base times height, or length times width. So the area of this red square is length times width, or base times height, r times r. Which another way of writing that is r squared, right? One number times itself, r squared. So I get the area of this red box to be r squared. Now, if I put another one on here, I'm going to ask how many of these red boxes do you think it would take to exactly cover the blue circle? Right? So I have some extras here and some extras here that I could kind of use to fill in. A little bit more extra here. So if all these extra pieces kind of filled in here, right, and then there might be a little piece left, a number might pop into your head. If I said, how many of these red boxes does it take to cover the blue square? You might think of this number, pi again, right? It would take pi, 3.14, of the red boxes to cover the circle. So pi comes back again when we talk about area. Okay, write this formula down. Area for a circle is equal to pi times the radius squared. Or, some people like to say, pi times r times r. Or radius times pi. Turns out that works for every single circle. Let me clear this off again. It would take 3.14 of these red boxes to exactly cover the blue circle. So remember our estimate was 78 when we just counted up the boxes. Let's calculate it now and see what we get. In this circle, we had a radius of 5, right? The whole box was 10, so halfway across was 5. So if I want to find the area, radius times pi, 5 times 5 times 3.14, calculate that, and I get 78.5. And then whatever units squared, so if this was like inches, I get square inches. So notice we were pretty close. We did a good job estimating it in the first place, but that's how you would calculate it more accurately. So make sure you have this formula written down. Area is pi r squared, or that means the same thing as 3.14 times the radius times the radius. Okay? Down here it says, could we find the area using the diameter? Well, yeah, kinda. You could. You would just have to take the diameter, cut it in half to get the radius, and then still do radius times pi. So we use this formula all the time. Pi r squared. So, you have this in your notes. We've looked at it a little bit before. We already know radius gets doubled or multiplied by 2 to get diameter. Diameter times pi to get the circumference. Working backwards, if I have the circumference, divide by pi to get the diameter. And diameter divided by 2, or cut in half, gives you the radius. So that was all in a previous video. Let's talk now, how do I get to area? Well, the only way really to calculate area is to start with this radius. So if you have the radius, we said it was radius times pi. Or we should write the official formula. Most people will say pi r squared. If I do that, it'll tell me the area inside the circle. Go ahead and put an X through this one just for right now. You will not have to calculate starting with the area working backwards here, so you don't need that arrow. But the rest of this is filled in, and we'll use it to do some practice. So here's our first example. Find the area of the rug. Well, I have to see what they give me, what information we have. If I know this distance from edge to edge, that is the diameter. So it looks like I'm starting here, right? I know the diameter is 6. I can cut that in half, divided by 2 to get the radius. So the radius would be 3, right? From the circle to the center to the edge would be 3. And then I can calculate the area by doing radius times pi. So I'm going to do 3 times pi and type that in. And I got 28.26. Okay. And then circumference. If I start here with diameter, I'm going to be following this arrow now to get circumference, which is times pi, or times 3.14. So 6 times 3.14 and get that answer. And I got 18.84. So hopefully you noticed that there's something missing still. I should have units on all of these. They tell me that I'm using feet here, so the radius would be 3 feet. Circumference is 18.84 feet. And area is feet square feet. Okay, here's example 2. In example 2, let's see what they're giving us. Looks like I have from the center to the edge, so they're giving me the radius. That means I'm starting here. I know the radius is 3.8, and I can find the other 3 missing values, right? Let's find area first this time. If I want to find area, I do radius times pi. So that would be, my radius is 3.8 times 3.8 times pi. Type that in and got this number, 45.34, and I just rounded off. Let's see, we're talking about meters, so area is always going to be units squared, square meters. Okay, what about now if I want to find the diameter? That means I'm following this arrow, radius times 2 to get diameter. So 3.8 times 2 equals 7.6, and that would just be meters. And then circumference. Well, here, if I already know the diameter was 7.6, let's multiply that by pi. And I got 23.86 and labeled it meters for circumference. So you should copy this work down. All of this work that we've written here should be on your paper. And then there's one more. I'm going to put the picture up and let you try it. Here's example 3. In this one, I have a semicircle. Semicircle, which means it is exactly half of a circle. Okay? So in this one, I actually want to find radius, diameter, circumference, and area for this shape. Okay? So let's look in the picture. Which one do they give us? From the center to the edge, So fill in which one you already know to start with. And then I want you to try using your arrows, right? Like we have already filled in and done before. Keep using these arrows to find the other three, okay? So try it, pause it, and then we'll come back and check. Okay, let's pick up back here and go through our answers so far. Looks like I know the radius. Right from the picture, they tell me the radius is 4 feet. Remember, 1 apostrophe like that is your symbol for feet, an abbreviation sort of for feet. Okay, so I can double that, go all the way across, and I get the diameter. The diameter would be 8 feet. If I do diameter times pi, that gave me the circumference. I need to label that as feet. But we need to talk about that a little bit more because I don't have the whole circumference of the circle. If you look in the picture, I only have half of the circumference. So I would need to divide this number by 2. And so for this pink dotted line, I actually get a distance of 12.56. So if you're looking just from here to here, around this dotted pink line, 12.56 feet. But a lot of questions will ask you for the perimeter. Pay attention here because you're going to see questions like this. The perimeter of that entire figure. Well, that would be that 12.56, half of the circumference, plus this, plus the diameter across the middle. In order to get the perimeter of the whole thing, I got to add up all the edges, all the sides. So that diameter is another 8 right here. So I need to combine these two numbers together to get the entire outside. So that looks like I would get 20.56. Okay, so make sure you could find the perimeter of the whole thing as well. And then finally for area, I did radius times pi. That gave me 50.24. It's area, so this would be square feet, or feet squared. But I don't have the full circle. I only have half the circle, right? This is only half of this entire circle, so I have to cut it in half, divide it by 2. So I get that the area of the semicircle is actually just 25.12 square feet. Okay? So now we pretty much know how to find the area of any circle or semicircle. You get to finish filling this chart in. So we did this already in video 3, where we filled in all the radius and diameters and circumferences. But now you get to go back and fill in the area, now that you know how to do that. So I'll pick 1 or 2 to do, and then you can finish the whole chart. Let's start with this one. If I know the diameter, I'm going to have to cut it in half and get the radius, because I need the radius to find area. So cut it in half. You probably can look back. We know that we got 12 for the radius here. So my area is going to be 12 times pi. Type that in and you'll have your answer right there. So I calculated that and I got 452.16. Remember, if you had units on any of these problems, these should all be units squared for area. Okay, I'll do one more. If we start here with the circumference, well, I got to figure out what the radius is up here, so I can do radius times pi to get the area. So I got to work backwards and get diameter, right? Divide by pi, or look back at how you did this in video 3. Divide by pi and get the diameter, and then cut that in half and get the radius. Then we can do radius times pi. So let's do that. 43.96 divided by pi. I get a diameter of 14. Cut that in half, a radius of 7. So to find the area here, I'm going to do 7 times pi. Whoops. There we go, 153.86 units squared. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 more for you to do. Finish filling in the rest of the chart, and then pause and we'll come back and check. So I filled in the rest of the chart too, which you should have already done in video 3, but make sure that you got these answers for your areas. Radius times pi. And that's the end of video 4, area of circles.